Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and as part of our cellulose dyeing week, I thought it would be fun to dye an intact ball of yarn. So today we are going to dye 113 grams of this sugar and cream 100% cotton yarn. Now, I could have wound the yarn on my ball winder into a yarn cake, but this, even though it's elongated, it is pretty much in cake form. The dye should be able to access the center a bit, but then there is also limited access to dye around. So as we go to the center, we won't have a section that's pure white, but we should have a darker section and then a lighter section as we go towards the center. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. We are going to dye our yarn today with some Rit Liquid dyes. I'm primarily going to use this pink as the main color, but I thought it would be fun to pour a little hint of the navy blue maybe on one section so we get some pops of another color as well. In this pot I have 16 cups of water, and I'm going to add I think 2/3 of a cup of table salt. I haven't kept a strict plan with my proportions of salt to water when using these Rit dyes on cotton, but I think that it should work out okay. And the salt should start dissolving more as the water heats up. The ball of yarn is currently dry, and my plan is to add the pink to the pot, add the yarn, and sort of use my tongs to sort of hold it in place so that way it'll stay submerged, and then maybe I'll pour a tiny bit of navy on the very top. But we might have to edit that as we go, so we'll see how this works. Since we're talking about Rit dyes, I want to mention the Color Stay Fixative again. I did an experiment with some navy colors and found that it didn't seem to make a ton of difference. But I heard that it can make more of a drastic difference on reds. So I do plan to repeat that experiment sometime in the future using more different colors of the Rit. Maybe doing some hand painting or something. You would think that I would have learned my lesson about not using too much dye. However, once again, I'm going to go for 1/3 of a cup of the Rit Liquid dye. I would love it if the color is super intense, and I want, to give a chance for there to be some kind of gradient through this ball of yarn. And I think the best way to do that is to start off with a lot of color. So now I just need to let this finish heating up, and then we can get ready to dye our yarn. We are at just below a boil. And so I'm going to go ahead and try submerging this ball of yarn now. Oh, actually that's soaking up a bit faster than I had expected. Funny, and even with all that, I tried to have it deep enough so that way I would be able to get it to sit on the bottom of the pot. But I guess that's not something I'm really going to be able to do. Let's see if I can sort of squish it a tiny bit. There we go. Squish it down. Alright, and now, are we ready for me to go for this? I probably should be wearing gloves. But now I'm going to take a little bit of, I should shake it up first. I'm going to take a tiny bit of navy, and I'm just gonna, I don't know if there's a way for me to do this without blocking it, but maybe it'll help if I move this over to the side so I can get my hand over it. Alright, and I'm just going to pour on a little bit of navy, like so. And so actually I think a lot might go into the center because of the way I poured it, but some more might travel down to the outside, but I thought that this could be another fun pop of color around the yarn. Right, I'm going to reduce the heat even more. And I'm going to go ahead and let this go for 10 minutes and then we'll come back and check on it. Okay, 10 minutes have passed and I don't think I have a good metal dye-safe spoon to check on the color in the dye pot. But ooh, look, that navy sort of spread down the side. And we've got some bright and dark colors all around this ball of yarn. I'm going to go ahead and remove it at this point. I'm really curious to know what things will look like on the center. But so far that's really cool. I just filled up my basin with warm water and I'm going to add, I guess, I'll do a third splashes of the dye fixative. I'd say that's approximately 2 tablespoons. The water is hot and I'm now going to add our still steaming ball of yarn straight into this pot. I have not pre-washed it this time. Apparently that was a mistake I might have done before. Certainly we will see some color bleeding now, but I am going to leave this in the pot for 30 minutes and stir it occasionally, or in the basin. The 30 minutes are up and now we can, oh, and the water's still warm. That's good. And I've got a lovely tangle to deal with. Less good, but shouldn't be so bad. And now, the nice thing about this is that there shouldn't be as much dye to come out. I will go, oh, sorry guys, I was out of frame. I will go ahead and wash this a bit now and try to get it to stop bleeding. But I will go ahead and wash the yarn a second time after I have unwound it from the ball, just to make sure that all of the excess dye is out of the yarn. But already this is pretty clear, so not too bad. And I can remove the gloves now, so I'm not risking dyeing myself. And I have some Dawn dyesafe, but oh, that's really clear. Which again, it isn't really, I don't know if the dye fixative was totally necessary, but I also really like these pink hues. And I think we've got color penetration towards the center. Oh, this might not be as much of a gradient as I expected. Nevertheless, it is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to keep rinsing it until the water is clear. And then soon I will try to squeeze out as much of the water as I can and then unravel it onto my niddy noddy. This cotton gradient is absolutely amazing. I am really pleased and surprised that the color penetrated so much into the center, because although the ball was loosely wound, there's still some sort of resist action just because of the layers and layers of yarn. But we do have a darker pink, sort of this rose pink color on the outside, and it gets progressively more and more of the lighter pink patches with these flecks of navy throughout. I am so happy that I decided to add that navy on top. I think that the yarn would have been absolutely lovely without it, but this just added an extra depth to the yarn. But over here you can get a sense of some of the lighter patches a bit better. But anyway, now I need to actually go wash this. And it has actually mostly dried already, but I mean, these colors are just so pretty. And I'm not sure how often you find gradient 100% cotton yarns. And given that I use the commercially wound ball, that's pretty great, because that limits the amount of prep work that you have to do to get a stunning yarn like this. I love taking a look at a gradient right after I've taken it off the niddy noddy. This is just lovely. I have already washed this that first time, but I couldn't really get to the center of the ball of yarn. So we might still see some bleeding here. But I'm just adding some dish soap. And yeah, I already see a tiny bit of pink coming out. The yarn dried one night in the ball, and then I wound it onto the niddy noddy about 24 hours ago and didn't have a chance to wash it last night. So I'm curious how much of the color we might lose. Hopefully not too much. But even though, I guess now's a good time to mention that when you are washing yarns that you've dyed, you can wash and wash and wash until the water runs clear, and that yet it can come up again that when you wash it again, some bleeding can occur. So if you are making something with yarn that is machine washable, I like to recommend washing it, on its own, either hand washing or a few times, because just in case there is some residual bleeding. But especially with fiber reactive dyes like this and tie-dye, because those can take a lot of rinses to remove. But already there's a lot less color coming out. So add a little more soap. And I'm going to keep washing this until the water runs clear, and then I will hang up the yarn to dry. This gradient yarn is amazing. The colors lightened up some after it dried, but I am just amazed by the intensity of these pinks. And honestly, how often do you find a gradient 100% cotton yarn? This one feels so special and one of a kind. And we got this by dyeing a commercially wound ball of yarn. So imagine how many more ways we could play with this in the future. It is so exciting to show that so many of the techniques that we love to play around with on wool yarns translate into 100% cotton yarns, cellulose-based fibers as well. Now, we might be using a totally different dye type than we might with the wool yarns, even though these Rit Liquid dyes also work on wool. But the technique of dyeing a complete ball of yarn to get a speckly, splotched gradient of color is one of my favorite techniques to do with yarn in general. And we've really created a beautiful, one-of-a-kind yarn. I think that the mixture of the fuchsia dye and the navy gave us this richest pink. It's almost, the pink definitely has a warmth, and it's not a purple, but it's starting to lean a tiny bit in that direction. And I am just absolutely in love with this color. I sort of wish that I had measured the amount of navy that I poured on, but I think that this is just a colorway and colors that I will need to play with more in the future. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I really hope that you enjoyed this dyeing video. I am having a lot of fun exploring so many techniques on cotton yarns as part of Cellulose Week. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. This week I am releasing a new video featuring cotton yarns every day, but in general I publish at least 2 new dyeing videos a week and do frequent live streams. Finally, if you're already a fan of ChemKnits and would like to support us on a more personal level, check out the ChemKnits Patreon. You'll find a link in the video description. Thank you so much for watching.